But you fought basketball players, you fought strikers in the UFC, you fought a 50-year-old, Mike Tyson. Yeah, the money was there, but it wasn't the toughest matches in the world. Why'd you pick those fights? Because you could make money without it being much of a risk.
It's kind of weird because Jake Paul is extremely bigger than Tank. And I mean, but with it being a exhibition, it makes sense.
Going up against a 200-pounder, I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big. Tank ain't gonna be able to get in from that jab.
Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back when he broke down the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis showdown. To Stephen, Gervonta isn't just another name in the fight game. He's one of this generation's greatest warriors, an explosive knockout artist with instincts, timing, and power so sharp it can end a fight in a heartbeat. And while Jake Paul's size and reach can't be overlooked, Stephen made it clear, raw athleticism alone means nothing when you're standing across from a world-class technician like Tank. He warned that despite Jake's physical edge, stepping into that ring could turn into a harsh, unforgettable lesson in boxing reality.
Knockout on Ryan Garcia in April of 2023. Stephen A., is Tank Davis the most exciting fighter in boxing?
Yes, he is. He absolutely is. I love me some Terrence Crawford. He's spectacular, probably #1 pound for pound on the planet. I'm a Canelo Alvarez fan. Obviously, I'm a David Benavidez fan. But this brother, Gervonta Davis, Tank Davis, the time has come for the world to recognize this is one of the top 5 fighters on the planet. He might be top 3.
Yeah.
You can make a legitimate argument for him being 3, 1, or whatever.
According to Smith, Gervonta is one of those rare, natural-born fighters, the kind whose reflexes and punching power place him among the sport's true elite. He admits that Jake's size advantage might give him a shot to land something big. But if Davis controls the distance and timing, this could turn into a one-sided showcase. In his regular segments, Stephen A. keeps reminding Jake that pride can be a dangerous thing. Because in the ring, size means nothing when you're standing toe-to-toe with a polished knockout artist.
Jake Paul versus Tank Davis, they just announced the fight. What's your instant reaction to that?
I don't know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big. Tank ain't gonna be able to get in from that jab. Jake land one good punch on Tank, it's over.
Smith has said it time and time again. He doesn't see Jake Paul as just another internet star throwing punches for clicks. He recognizes the effort, the pro trainers, the real camps, the grind that mirrors a true fighter's routine. In that sense, Jake's acting like a professional. But Stephen A. insists that being professional isn't the same as being proven. Now is the moment for Jake to face real boxers, fighters his age, his size, his skill level, men who actually live this sport. Because only against them, Smith says, will we learn if Jake's ready to step out of the spotlight sideshow and gain his place in the world of real boxing.
Jake Paul is a professional. At some point in time, I don't give a damn if it's a light heavyweight. Beterbiev, Bivol, a super middleweight, Canelo, Mexican Monster, David Benavidez, somebody that actually has a reputation. The time has come for Jake Paul to step into the ring with a cat who actually boxes for a living and give us that fight. I appreciate the fact of him promoting. I appreciate him having the cachet as a former YouTuber turned boxer. I like Jake Paul. I respect Jake Paul. I'm just saying, because I like him and because I respect him, I want to see him in the ring. And I don't want to hear, I know his numbers are better, but then he's going to say, I don't need Canelo. Canelo needs me. Well, wait a minute. It ain't just about popularity, bruh.
But you fought basketball players, you fought strikers in the UFC, you fought a 50-year-old, Mike Tyson. Yeah, the money was there, but it wasn't the toughest matches in the world. Why'd you pick those fights? Because you could make money without it being much of a risk. Well, if you're doing that, how you going to turn around and knock Canelo Alvarez for doing the same? Especially working in a sport that you yourself, Jake Paul, has called corrupt and abusive towards fighters. Now, I understand you're upset, you're a little bit salty about Canelo using you to get a better deal from Riyadh or him turning down a fight with you. But what you're attempting to do and what you have done to some degree, Canelo Alvarez has done. He has fought Triple G. He has fought Mayweather. Even though Charlo's undersized, he was a champion. Terrence Crawford is a champion. By the way, he's not 140. He's not 135. He's 147. And then his last fight, I think, was at 154. And oh, by the way, he would move up a couple of weight classes. Now, I think Canelo needs to be fighting David Benavidez as well. But he did fight and knock out Kovalev at the light heavyweight spot. He did fight and lose to Bivol. He did fight Triple G not once, not twice, but 3 times. So when Canelo sits up there and says, I fight fighters, he ain't lying. His reputation does speak for itself. So I can't sit up there and flow with you, Jake Paul, on that one.
Has pointed out that Jake Paul doesn't really have room to complain about criticism. Not when Canelo Alvarez, a certified boxing legend, is doing almost the same thing. Smith argues that even Canelo's recent choices seem driven more by money and spectacle than pure competitive spirit. But Stephen A. hasn't stopped there. He's called Jake out directly, saying if he's truly serious about boxing, not just the flash, the paydays, or the show, then it's time to face someone his own age and size. Smith says Jake's been choosing opponents with obvious physical disadvantages, older, smaller fighters, and if he wants real respect, he has to fight to pay. Because according to Stephen A., that's the only way to truly measure growth, prove legitimacy, and show the world progress beyond the headlines.
I can't buy the hype at this particular moment in time. Now, I'll give Jake Paul credit for this. At least he's in the ring with a boxer. But 57 years old is 57 years old. And 57 years old and formally walking into a UFC fight as an audience member, as a patron with a cane, it's hard to me to believe a year later that you're going to be in any condition to really, really fight. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. And if you're Jake Paul, here's what I want to say to you. It's Mike Tyson, that's fine. It's a money fight, I get you, and you want to make money. But at some point in time, if you keep telling us that you're taking boxing seriously and you want to be recognized as a big-time boxer / fighter, you're going to have to fight somebody closer to your age, who is a contender at the very least in the sport and who lives with it every single day. Could you please get in the ring with somebody? Pretty please, with sugar on top. I'm interested. But you fought basketball players, you fought strikers in the UFC, you fought a 50-year-old, Mike Tyson. Yeah, the money was there, but it wasn't the toughest matches in the world. Why'd you pick those fights? Because you could make money without it being much of a risk. Well, if you're doing that, how you going to turn around and knock Canelo Alvarez for doing the same? Especially working in a sport that you yourself, Jake Paul, has called corrupt and abusive towards fighters. Now, I understand you're upset, you're a little bit salty about Canelo using you to get a better deal from Riyadh or him turning down a fight with you. But what you're attempting to do and what you have done to some degree, Canelo Alvarez has done. He has fought Triple G. He has fought Mayweather. Even though Charlo's undersized, he was a champion. Terrence Crawford is a champion. By the way, he's not 140. He's not 135. He's 147. And then his last fight, I think, was at 154. And oh, by the way, he would move up a couple of weight classes. Now, I think Canelo needs to be fighting David Benavidez as well. But he did fight and knock out Kovalev at the light heavyweight spot. He did fight and lose to Bivol. He did fight Triple G not once, not twice, but 3 times. So when Canelo sits up there and says, I fight fighters, he ain't lying. His reputation does speak for itself. So I can't sit up there and flow with you, Jake Paul, on that one.
Meanwhile, Jake Paul has fired back at the critics, reminding everyone that he's still new to boxing. This isn't something he's been doing his whole life. He leans into his entertainment roots, saying, I was on Disney when these guys were already winning UFC belts. It's his way of pointing out that many of his detractors have been in combat sports for years while he was busy building a brand and a career in show business. From his perspective, it's unrealistic to expect him to climb straight to the top overnight. Still, Jake insists he's learning quickly, adapting fast, and that he's fully in the fight game now, ready to prove himself where it matters most, inside the ring.
You are beating up on dudes who don't box. They're not boxers.
I was on Disney Channel while these guys were winning UFC championships.
Okay.
You know, I was playing with Mickey Mouse while these guys were throwing arm bars and winning UFC championships. Everyone's, analyzing my career, critiquing it, paying attention to it from day one, but you can't tell me who was Mike Tyson's first fight. You can't tell me who Muhammad Ali, who was his fourth fight. No one knows, but everyone's seen all of my fights. I tried to fight Tommy Fury. Yeah, I tried to fight Tommy Fury, and he backed out due to a rib injury. Undefeated, young prospect. He comes from the Fury family. His brother's the heavyweight champion of the world. I tried to fight him, and he got scared.
Smith has been outspoken about his respect for what Jake Paul is bringing to boxing, especially the way he's mastered self-promotion. He admits that while there's plenty to critique about Jake's opponent choices or the legitimacy of some matchups, he still respects the bigger picture. To Smith, Jake's proving that a fighter doesn't have to live entirely at the mercy of promoters to make it big. For too long, he argues, promoters have pulled the strings, manipulating matchmaking, stalling careers, deciding who gets the spotlight, and using their power to control the game. But Jake has cut through that old system, shaking things up, bringing new eyes, money, and energy into the sport. And in Smith's eyes, that matters a lot.
I've always been a fan of Jake because I think that what Jake tries to do for the sport of boxing, I think people don't realize the importance of him being able to promote for himself and not being reliant on the promoters who I believe has held the sport hostage. The only critique I've ever given Jake, I just want Jake to fight boxers. Like Nate Diaz, we know his reputation. We know the man can fight. We know in the octagon he could be something special. But we know you breathe on him, he starts bleeding.
It's a fair critique. And you know what? He should fight boxers. But then again, should he? Because I'll tell you why. If you're a human who can rake in $6 to $10 million fighting people that you're going to beat, and you want to build a resume and a record that's impressive with a good highlight reel, you got to be strategic about this shit. Jake's 25, 26. He's got so much time.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I get where you coming from. All I'm saying is, we don't know your skill set because you haven't been in there with anybody really, really skilled.
One of boxing's sharpest minds, Terence Crawford, sees this matchup as tilted from the start. An uneven fight where Jake's size and strength could outweigh skill if he connects clean. He put it plainly, if Paul lands just one solid punch early, that moment alone could change everything. But Crawford didn't stop there. He added a crucial warning. Because of the weight gap and imbalance, this might not be a true test of boxing craft at all, but rather something closer to an exhibition, a show of power more than a battle of pure technique.
Jake Paul versus Tank Davis. They just announced the fight. What's your instant reaction to that?
I don't know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big. Tank ain't gonna be able to get in from that jab. Jake land one good punch on Tank, it's over.
Teddy Atlas, one of boxing's most respected minds, has spoken candidly about Jake Paul's rise and the sacrifices that came with it. He admits that no matter what critics say, Jake deserves recognition for going out and making the fights he wants actually happen. In Atlas's eyes, that kind of success doesn't just fall into place. It takes persistence, serious investment, and a willingness to give up comfort for a shot at greatness. Jake has carved out a lane in boxing no one ever imagined for a YouTuber-turned-fighter. Atlas also notes that Paul's growth is real. He's trained for years with elite coaches, sparred against professionals, and learned how to truly hold his own in the ring. And while boxing purists may still mock him, Atlas believes much of that criticism overlooks the undeniable effort and results Jake has shown. Many fans dismiss him for where he came from, but Atlas insists his journey proves just how much is poured into reaching this point.
That I gave too much credit to Paul. Why? He's done a hell of a job to put himself in this position. He sold himself. He sold his dream. He took his dream. He took his idea. And he put it out there, and he made it happen. Give him credit for that. And he made it happen. And he took risk along the way. Yeah, he picked his spots. He's in the driver's seat. He gets to pick his spots. He's the one bringing the money. He's the one promoting. Yeah, he's the name. He made himself that, coming from where he came from, with all his followers and the whole thing, and just the the uniqueness of what he was doing. But he has learned along the way. He's not a top guy yet. No, I don't know that he ever will be. He didn't have that amateur background and the things that you usually need to be a top guy. But he has improved. He is a work in progress. He is a guy that you got to give him credit that he's respected the sport. He went out there, he's worked hard at it, and he's gotten himself into this position. Having said all of that, this might be a step too far. Now, when I say it, I'm also, I try to be responsible. I've been in this game 50 years, so I know where not to step, where you could twist an ankle, or worse, you could break a leg or fall down.
Several analysts believe this fight could become one of the biggest boxing spectacles in years, a matchup that might even surpass traditional bouts in global reach and fan engagement. Their reasoning is simple. Jake Paul isn't just a boxer. He's an entertainer, an influencer with a following that stretches far beyond the ring. While most fighters attract only the hardcore boxing crowd, Jake pulls in millions of casual fans through his massive online presence and mainstream fame. That crossover appeal transforms the event from a typical fight night into a full-blown cultural moment. Many predict it will dominate headlines, shatter pay-per-view numbers, and completely reshape the way boxing connects with audiences around the world.
To boxing than Gervonta Tank Davis. Now, Canelo's not a bigger global star than Jake Paul because Jake Paul is an entertainer outside the sport of boxing. That's why. So now you have people telling you that Jake Paul and Tank Davis is a circus fight, okay? It's a commercial circus fight on top of that. Jake Paul fights at cruiserweight and heavyweight, 200 plus pound, 200 minimum. Okay, his last fight against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., former world champion, the son of a legend, was that he weighed in at 199 pounds. He fought Iron Mike Tyson at 224 pounds, okay? Tank Davis fights at 135 pounds. You have the storyline of David and Goliath that's going to push the entertainment part, okay? That's going to get people to draw interest in the fight. Why? Because you have the whole David and Goliath situation going on. So, again, that attracts people. Okay? So it's a sideshow. But even the sideshow, yes, it's going to be on Netflix. Yes, it's going to be a big event on Netflix. But guess what? They are fighting at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia.
The fight has been slammed by many as a spectacle disguised as sport, a money-driven circus rather than a true competition. Commentators across the boxing world have called it a greedy, cartoonish sideshow, mourning how the sport's core values of merit and tradition are being swapped for social media buzz and cash grabs. To them, it's a painful step backward for the sweet science. Much of the backlash is centered on Gervonta Davis, who chose to walk away from his contractual rematch with Lamont Roach Jr. in favor of a far more lucrative showdown with Jake Paul. Roach, who still believes he deserved the win in their controversial draw, says he felt deeply disrespected by the move. Even with a rematch clause in place, Davis never signed the papers to make it official. Instead, he'll reportedly pocket around $100 million for this exhibition, a figure that dwarfs what he'd earn facing Roach again. And to many critics, that choice says it all. The payday came before the principle.
Gervonta doesn't want this fight.
You want that rematch next? It's definitely the one I want next.
It's the fight I want next, but it's not the fight that's going to be next. Tank said they ain't going to give it to you. PBC had a contract for Tank Roach. Tank didn't sign it. Roach knew all along fight ain't going to happen. He was only contractually obligated to have the rematch if Roach win. Roach won that fight. Robbed him of the knockdown. It's a draw. Now they're not contractually obligated. So why didn't Tank sign the contract?
Gervonta Davis, and you're being offered 20, 30, 40 million, whatever the number is, and you're getting 7 or 8 to fight Lamont Roach.
Do you remember once upon a time Gervonta Tank Davis had a contract on the table for like 200 million, 300 million, something crazy like that? 6-fight deal, what happened to it? The PBC split with Showtime, now with Amazon. Gervonta doesn't want to fight you. What else is he going to do? Let me tell you the biggest issue. He had nowhere to go.
Gary Logan and David Adeli pointed out that in today's boxing world, fame and money often outweigh legacy and competitive pride. Instead of chasing a rematch with Lamont Roach, Gervonta Davis opted for the big money, spotlight-heavy fight against Jake Paul. The analysts agreed that while the decision makes sense from a business standpoint, it also highlights a deeper issue: how modern boxing has shifted its focus, placing spectacle and profit above the purity of competition and the traditions that once defined the sport.
We got Tank getting in the ring with Jake Paul pretty soon. What do you think that, like, what is it?
You know why, it's people, a lot of people mad, a lot of people upset, real hardcore boxing fans. But you know what about boxing? I like, when it's all said and done and when you guys go off, they going to the next man. Yeah. So if y'all can make a big payday, go get that payday. The sport of boxing don't love you. And that's the problem with this sport. It's like, what Jake Paul did, man, it's crazy, but people getting paid off of it.
Yeah.
So if he can call any one of y'all out and y'all can get that payday, I say go get it, baby.
So what do you think? Will Jake's size and star power give him a real chance under those bright lights? Or will Tank's elite skill and devastating knockout power be too much to handle? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.